5.3 goes over solving systems of linear equations by elimination. When you are eliminating one of these terms, it's because the coefficient in front of the variable is the same and it has an opposite sign. So if we look at some examples on how to solve these, if we look at example 1a, we're given 3x plus 2y is equal to 4, as well as 3x minus 2y is equal to negative 4. With these, you see your coefficients. You have a 3 on both the x's, and then you have a negative 2 and a positive 2 on the y's. If you added these two expressions, you will cancel out those two y's because they're opposites of each other. And that's what your whole objective is here. Cancel out one of the variables first, solve for the other. So if we add the 3x plus 3x, we get 6x. The 4 plus negative 4 is 0. When we divide each side by that 6, we get that x is equal to 0. Now, we can choose either of those original equations to substitute the 0 in for x and solve for y. I'm going to use the first one. So this is going to give me 3 times 0 plus 2y is equal to 4. The 3 times 0 cancels out, so that we just have 2y is equal to 4. We divide each side by that 2, and we get that y is equal to 2. So our solution to this is 0, 2. For b, we have 3x plus 2y is equal to 7, and negative 3x plus 4y is equal to 5. We see here that those x's have the same but opposite coefficients, so we could just add these two equations, and those x's are going to cancel. So this is going to leave us with 2y plus 4y, which is 6y, is equal to 7 plus 5 is 12. We can divide each side by that 6 to get that y is equal to 2. From here, we take that y and we plug it into one of the original equations. I'm just going to use the top one. So I'm going to have 3 times x plus 2 times y, which we said was 2, is equal to 7. The 2 times 2 is 4, so that's 3x plus 4 is equal to 7. We subtract that 4 from each side. So we have 3x is equal to 3. And then we divide each side by that 3 to get that x is equal to 1. So we have that y is equal to 2, that x is equal to 1. That gives us a solution of 1, 2. Our next example, we have negative 10x plus 3y is equal to 1, and negative 5x minus 6y is equal to 23. If you look at these coefficients here, none of these coefficients are the same but opposite signs. So we need to figure out which one we're going to eliminate. By doing this, I try to look at my ones that have a common factor or a common multiple that's low. So if I did that 10 and that 5, well, first, they're not opposites, so I'm going to look at my y values. My y values, I have a 3 and a negative 6. Those are opposites. One's positive, one's negative. And I can do 3 times 2 is going to give me that 6 that I'm looking for in order to cancel out those y's. So by doing this 3 times 2, I'm going to multiply the entire top equation by 2. So I'm going to do that negative 10 times 2, which is negative 20x. Then that 2 times 3y is 6x, or 6y, I'm sorry. And 2 times 1 is 2. So I'm going to be adding these two equations that I have here. So I have that negative 5x minus 20x is negative 25x. The negative 6y plus 6y cancels out. And the 23 plus 2 gives me 25. From here, I can just divide each side by that negative 25. And I get that x is equal to 1. Now choose one of the original equations to solve for y. I'm going to choose the top one just because there's no specific reason. So I have negative 10 times x, which is 1, plus 3y is equal to 1. The negative 10 times 1 is negative 10, plus 3y is equal to 1. So this was supposed to be negative, which means this is negative, and this 1 is negative. So this 10 is positive, not negative 10. Sorry about that. Okay. So from here, we can then subtract the 10 from each side. And this is going to give us 3y is equal to negative 9. We divide each side by that 3, and we get that y is equal to negative 3. So to give your solution, you have x comma y, so that's negative 1 comma negative 3. For example B, we have x minus 3y is equal to 24, and 3x plus y is equal to negative 12. Look for your opposites first. For your x's, you have a positive and a positive. Those aren't going to help. If you look at your y's, you have a negative 3 and a positive 1. You can multiply that positive 1 by 3 to give yourself a positive 3 and cancel out those y values. So we'll multiply the bottom equation by 3. We're going to multiply that in, so we're going to multiply everything within that equation by 3. So I'm just going to rewrite that top equation, x minus 3y is equal to 24, because nothing's changing with it. And then the bottom equation is going to be 3 times 3x is 9x, 3 times y is positive 3y, and 3 times 12 is 36. From here, I'm just going to add these two. So x plus 9x gives us 10x. The negative 3y plus 3y cancels out. And 24 plus 36, the 4 plus 6 is 10. Carry the 1 is 60. We can then divide each side by that 10 to get x by itself. And we have that x is equal to 6. Now use one of the original equations to plug in for the x and solve for y. I'm going to use the bottom equation since I'm not going to have to divide anything by both sides to get y by itself. So I'm going to have 3 times x, which is 6, plus y is equal to 12. 3 times 6 is 18, plus y is equal to 12. We just subtract that 18 from each side, and we get that y is equal to negative 6. So if my x is positive 6 and my y is negative 6, my solution to this system is 6, negative 6. For our next example, C, we have x plus 4y is equal to 22, and 4x plus y is equal to 13. When you look at these two x values or these two y values, you do not have opposites here. So when you multiply something by the entire equation, it's going to have to be a negative. So you need to decide now, what do I want to get rid of? Do I want to get rid of my x values, or do I want to get rid of my y values? It really doesn't matter. If I get rid of my x values first, I can multiply that top equation by negative 4. So that way I have negative 4x minus 16y is equal to negative 88, as well as 4x plus y is equal to 13. I can add these two. My x's are going to cancel. From there, I have negative 16y plus y, which gives me negative 15y, is equal to negative 88 plus 13. That negative 88 plus 13 is negative 75. So now I just have to divide each side by that 15 to get y by itself. So if I divide each side by this negative 15, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 15 goes into 75 5 times, so y is equal to 5. Now I'm going to use one of my original equations. I'm going to use the top one because my coefficient of x is 1, and I'm not going to have to divide anything in order to get my x by itself. So I'm going to plug in this 5 for y there. I'm going to have x plus 4 times 5 is equal to 22. The 4 times 5 is 20, so x plus 20 is equal to 22. Then we have then we have to move the 20 over by subtracting it from each side. So x is equal to 2. If my x is 2 and my y is 5, we're going to have the ordered pair 2, 5 for our solution. For example D, we have 5x is equal to y plus 8, and negative x plus 2y is equal to negative 7. The first thing we're going to have to do here is to get that top equation to where our x and our y values are on the same side. So if we take that 5x, is equal to y plus 8, I can move that y over by subtracting it from each side, and I'm left with 5x minus y is equal to 8. From here, I'm looking at this 5x minus y is equal to 8, and this negative x plus 2y is equal to negative 7, in order to cancel out one of my variables. If I have these two, I can do one of two things in order to cancel out one of these variables. I can either multiply my entire bottom equation by 5 or multiply my whole top equation by 2. I think 2 is a smaller number than 5. I might as well multiply my top equation by 2 since it's the smaller number, which will make me work with smaller numbers. So I'm going to multiply everything by 2 on the top equation. This is going to give us 10x minus 2y is equal to 16, as well as negative x plus 2y is equal to negative 7. From here, I add my terms. So 10x minus x gives us 9x, negative 2y plus 2y cancels out, and 16 minus 7 gives us 9. So from here, we're just going to divide each side by that 9 to get x by itself, and x will equal 1. Now, I can substitute this 1 in for one of my top equations to get what y is equal to, just because I'm going to use that top equation. So I'm going to have 5 times x, which is 1, is equal to y plus 8. The 5 times 1 is 5, is equal to y plus 8. I can subtract that 8 from each side, and I get that y is equal to negative 3. So I have an x is equal to, I have a y is equal to. My solution for this one is going to be 1, negative 3. For E, we have 2x minus 3y is equal to 0, and 3x minus 2y is equal to 1. For these, we do not have opposites, so we need to figure out what do we want to get rid of, our x or our y. In this case, we cannot multiply anything by that top equation to just cancel out an x or a y. Same thing with the bottom. So I'm going to find my least common multiple between that 2 and that 3 and have one be a positive, one be a negative. So my least common multiple between 2 and 3 is 6. If I multiply the top equation by 3, I can make that 2x a 6x, and then that bottom equation I can multiply by 2 to make that 3x a 6x. One of these has to be a negative. So I'm going to multiply the top equation by 3 and my bottom equation by negative 2. The 3 times 2x gives us 6x. The 3 times negative 3y is negative 9y, and 3 times 0 is 0. If I multiply the bottom equation by negative 2, the negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x. The negative 2 times negative 2y is a positive 4y, and negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. I can now add these two. My x's are going to cancel. I have negative 9y plus 4y is negative 5y, and 0 minus 2 is negative 2. From here, we can divide each side by this negative 5, and we get that y is equal to 2/5. From here, I'm going to I'm going to substitute this into one of my original equations. So I can either do it with a 2x minus 3y is equal to 0, or the 3x minus 2y is equal to 1. Either way, you're going to have to work with this fraction, so I'm just going to do it to the top equation. So 2x minus 3 times y, which is 2/5, is equal to 0. From here, I can multiply the negative 3 times 2/5, which is negative 6/5. So 2x minus 6/5 is equal to 0. I'm going to add over that 6/5 to each side. And this is going to give me 2x is equal to 6/5. From here, I'm going to divide each side by that 2 to get x by itself. So when I divide that 6/5 by 2, I'm going to keep in mind my rule for division with fractions. And I'm going to keep, change, flip. So x is equal to 6/5 times reciprocal of 2 is 1/2. The 6 can turn into a 3, the 2 would turn into a 1, so I now have 3/5 times 1/1, which is just 3/5. So I have a y is equal to, I have an x is equal to, I form my solution by having x comma y, so that's 3/5 comma 2/5. For example F, we are given a plus b is equal to 9/10 and 5a plus b is equal to 5/2. Now when you look at these coefficients, the a's do not have the same coefficients. The b's, however, have a 1, invisible 1, as a coefficient. So if you multiply one of these equations by a negative, you can cancel out those b terms. So I'm going to do that to the bottom equation. Multiply it by a negative. This is going to give me a plus b is equal to 9/10, and negative 5a minus b is equal to negative 5/2. Now, I want to rewrite this so that way I can subtract those fractions. So I'm just going to rewrite it again to be a plus b is equal to 9/10 minus 5a minus b is equal to something over 10. So 2 times 5 is 10. Negative 5 times 5 is negative 25/10. From here, I can add my terms. That a minus 5a is negative 4a. B minus b cancels out. And 9/10 minus 25/10, we're going to do 9 minus 25, which is negative 16/10. From here, I'm going to divide each side by that negative 4. I'm going to rewrite this as a is equal to negative 16/10 divided by negative 4, or negative 4/1. I keep, change, flip. So a is equal to negative 16/10 times negative 1/4. A negative times a negative is a positive. The 16 and the 4 can simplify to become 4 and 1. So I have a is equal to 4/10, which simplifies to be a is equal to 2/5. Now that I have what a is equal to, I'm going to plug this into one of my original equations and solve for b. I'm going to use the top equation that a plus b is equal to 9/10. So a is 2/5 plus b is equal to 9/10. I'm going to subtract that 2/5 from each side. I'm going to get b is equal to 9/10 minus 2/5, which is 9/10 minus 4/10, which gives us b is equal to 5/10, and that simplifies to be b is equal to 1/2. So now I have a b is equal to as well. When I write my solution to this, it's just like x comma y, it's going to be a comma b. So my ordered pair is 2/5 comma 1/2.